And Congressman Mark Pocan of Madison had harsh words as well about the weapons that are available in this country.
But he doubts there will be any change in the laws. In fact, he says the actions on the floor of the House, quote, all too often reinforce the hate of some people. And he goes on to say this body is too chicken to address the epidemic of military-style assault weapons because that would upset the gun manufacturers and special interests. And Congressman Pocan joins us now live from the nation's capital. Congressman Pocan, good to see you. Thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely, thank you.
Well, I think that's some tough talk from you, and it echoes the frustration that a lot of Americans are feeling right now. Do you feel that some of the responsibility for what happened in Orlando lies at the feet of Congress?
Well, it lies at the feet of Congress. It lies in our candidates for office. When the discourse is as high in rhetoric, whether it be against people who are gay and lesbian or about banning Muslims, those things all have consequences. And then you take and add to it the fact that it's so easy to get military-style weapons, and yet assault weapons, and yet we don't do anything in Congress but have another moment of silence when a moment of action is what's required. I got to tell you, I wrote that in frustration. It's hard to come to Washington and know you're not going to do anything again when literally thousands of people are commenting across social media. I think it's the highest response we've ever gotten on anything we've put on Facebook. People are really upset.
Yeah, and yet at the same time, I remember thinking a few years ago, I had a kindergartner at the time in Newtown. Nothing was done after that. And if nothing happens after 25-year-olds getting mowed down, I mean, not that any group is more significant than the other, but you kind of felt like nothing would ever happen.
Well, you're up to 50 people, and what's the next one, and what's the next one, and what's the next moment of silence we'll do on the floor of Congress when we don't act because of the NRA and we don't act because of the gun manufacturers. And, you know, it's in Wisconsin, we respect hunting rights, we respect the handgun for personal protection, but you don't need a military-style assault weapon for any of those things. That is for one thing and one thing only, mass destruction. And we saw mass destruction again the other night. So it's frustrating to come to Washington and know that we're not going to act and try to go back and explain that to people back home. As you can tell, I have a lot of frustration knowing I'm going into another week of Washington of inaction.
You are an openly gay member of Congress, and you are the co-chair of the LGBT Equality Caucus. Can you talk a little bit from a personal perspective about the pain and fear that this is generating right now in the LGBT community?
Sure, you know, and I see it, that people are just, you know, afraid. They think we finally made some progress. We have marriage equality, public support is there, and then yet here again, we are with an act like this. And you just have to remember, just a couple weeks ago on the floor of Congress, we had amendments thrown that were unrelated to the bill before us to take away the protections for people who are gay or lesbian in employment. You know, it's this sort of attacks that people see and they realize that the fight's not over. And let's face it, we're still debating the Confederate flag in the South. What we have to realize is that the public is with the LGBT community, and we have to realize our struggle is no different than African American struggle, and right now Muslim American struggle. But if we band together and realize that, I think we're all going to come through this a lot better.
Hillary Clinton's saying today, bringing back the assault weapons ban. That's been, what, 12 years now? I mean, that's so in the past now. Is there any kind of regulation out there that Democrats are proposing that has a chance at all of seeing light of day? I mean, she's saying bring that back, but again, it's been over a decade.
You know, I think we have to force Congress. This is one where I think the people should take the leadership, and they are right now. They want change, and Congress, because of the special interests, is going to be much slower to react. But people can't accept that. So you have to really force that, whether it be through the ballot box in November or you do it right now by contacting members. We should act on a ban on military-style assault weapons. We should be dealing with people who are on the watch list. If they're not allowed to fly in this country, why are they allowed to buy weapons? And the Republicans are opposing us on this. So I think there's a lot of common sense measures that, again, the vast majority of the public agrees with us on. We just have to make sure that they're heard. And again, I think the people lead on this one, and the leaders are really following.
It feels like, you know, here we go again. It's this battle. It's this battle between common sense gun control legislation and protecting gun rights. And it doesn't sound like you're too optimistic that we're going to be making any progress on this.
Well, I serve in Congress. It's hard to be optimistic. But the bottom line is, we're not saying take away someone's rifle who uses it for hunting. That's a Wisconsin family tradition. We're not saying take away your handgun for personal protection. But you're only using a military-style assault weapon for one thing, and that's mass destruction. And there's absolutely no reason that this gentleman a week ago was able to pick up that weapon and do the damage that he did on Saturday evening. And we have to be able to stand up to that. And I don't care what the NRA or a gun manufacturer says, what's right is right. And we know that the public believe this. We have to get the members of Congress to believe this and get past that petty politics that we're having, unfortunately, to deal with right now.
Congressman Mark Pocan joining us tonight from Washington, D.C. I know it's on a lot of the hearts and minds of people in Washington as well. A very tragic weekend in the United States. Mark, we thank you for joining us on this Monday on Live at 4.
Thank you so much for your time, Congressman. Great to talk to you.